In the era of AI, all companies are racing to create the AI product, but do you know that their unspoken secret? If you use AI incorrectly, AI is going to destroy your business and lose millions of dollars and also make your customers hate you. What we reveal in today's podcast is very controversial and nobody actually talks about, and the AI is actually bringing so much danger to today's economy and businesses today. Today, we had the pleasure to invite Choon H. He is the CEO of Abstract Company. It's an AI real estate company who had over 30 years experience in developing different kind of software product and over 10 years experience developing AI product as well. Make sure to stay until the end of the podcast and see if you make the same critical mistakes and let AI destroy your businesses as well. Hey guys, it's Dr. Nancy Lee, a direct product featured in Forbes. I've helped thousands of people land a dream PM job offer in FAANG companies and unicorn startup and continue to get promoted as a product leader. In this channel, we'll talk about tech trends and free product management training. Like and subscribe and check out new videos every Tuesday. Hi, welcome to the podcast, Choon.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nancy.
Great. So, Product Insider Podcast, we always love to bring in some controversial topics and as well as all the trends that's happening in the tech industry. When we met at the Miami Investor event, and I was quite interested by your new vision regarding how AI could destroy businesses. I'm so glad you're able to share all the details with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
Choon, through my research, and you actually already had over 10 years experience developing different kind of AI product, and especially starting from ML model, train your own ML model. And now today, you're already having a very successful AI company that's serving commercial real estate. And also with my research, you also had over 30 years experience starting as a software engineer and growing multiple different type of companies in the past. And Choon, can you quickly introduce yourself regarding your entire journey, how you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, happy to do that, Nancy. Again, pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. My journey into AI is actually a very long one. I started when I was 10 years old, having interest in technology, and especially computers. And I grew up during the time when computers were just becoming, more and more practical tools instead of being these gigantic mainframe servers that occupied the entire room. It was really the transition from the computers from these gigantic mainframes into desktop computers. But even then, they were so expensive, my parents couldn't afford to buy that for me. But my school was a technology leader. I grew up in Vienna, in Austria, and my school happened to be a technology leader, and they purchased some of the first Apple II Macintoshes, and that was able to fit on a desk rather than having a gigantic machine that you have to put in a corner of a room or something, right? And but insanely expensive, and no normal citizen could afford that. Because my parents couldn't afford it, I had a teacher who recognized my inclination towards technology, and he secretly gave me the key to the room, and like once a week on a Saturday. We in Austria, we have school on Saturdays. And till I think 11 a.m. So it's a 6-day school week. And at 11 a.m. when everybody was left, he secretly gave me the key, and I gave the key back to him on Monday, and that was really what set the flame for me, to have an interest on it. So that's where I learned coding. That's where I learned writing code and handling with computers and everything. That was really the beginning of it. And even early on, I had an interest in computers and in artificial intelligence in that field. But it wouldn't be awesome. It wouldn't be till very, very much later where I really got into AI. I mean, when I went into college, then I took classes in AI and machine learning and everything. But it was an obscure subject at that time. AI has been around for 70 years. I don't know, most people realize that. It's literally since World War II. But it hasn't been really in people's radar till about 2 years ago with the advent of the transformer models, with the advent of ChatGPT, which ChatGPT is based on. But it has been around for a long time, but it has been in those small, tiny groups and obscure laboratories that nobody knew about, and I was in one of them, essentially, in my school.
This is awesome. You actually started so early. And based on our conversation, you actually grew up speaking German, and then you moved to US, study aerospace, and finally and just like step into AI. And now you have been in the AI space for over 10 years. Can you tell us what do you do now in AI?
So I am building a transformational, a groundbreaking AI tool for commercial real estate. So
Mm-hmm.
commercial real estate is an industry that's very archaic, very
Yeah.
manually driven, and we built one of the first AI enterprise solutions for this field, for the commercial real estate industry. And we focus on something called the lease management process, which is the central nervous system of commercial real estate, which is the
Mm-hmm.
process of bringing a tenant into a space, into a premises. And that process is a very long, lengthy, and arduous one. And then what we do is we help streamline that process using AI. And that is a very new effort, I would say. And in order to do this well, you need an AI model that is very accurate. It performs very reliably. And AI models, as we all know these days, they don't necessarily perform reliably. So it took me about, I would say, almost 14 years to get there. So I
Mm.
started literally with AI 14 years ago when nobody knew about it because a friend
Wow.
of mine, a commercial real estate broker, a friend of mine in LA, he was sick and tired playing administrative tasks and playing secretary. And that's when he called me up and he wanted a solution to summarize certain documents in
Mm-hmm.
AI, in commercial real estate. And I thought the only way to do this, to fix this, to help him was using AI, but it was classic AI I've been using at that time, and
This is so exciting.
and
Yeah,
and
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and that's where my journey started with that single phone call. My entire life changed because before that, prior to that, I was building software, regular software, SaaS applications, for various industries, naturally commercial real estate, but also for law, for pharmacy, and tons of other industry. But it was just regular software, nothing to do with AI. And with that
Mm-hmm.
single phone call with from a friend of mine 14 years ago, my entire life changed and pivoted into AI, and that's how I got into
Yeah.
the field of AI today.
Especially in today's AI, as you said earlier, most people are in AI. So, 2 years ago when ChatGPT just got started, we barely see people who start the AI journey way before ChatGPT. That's why when we met at the investor event in Miami, I was like, wow, he must know everything inside out regarding the practical things and also dirty secret of AI.
Yeah.
That's why I have you on the show. I also started my first product management job as an AI PM. That was in 2016, and using AI
Hmm.
help cities to reduce car crashes. So it was way
Yeah.
before AI. Now let's dive into practical things of AI. Chong, when we met in the event in Miami, you immediately told me that actually most businesses today they don't know how to use AI, and most businesses they didn't know how AI is actually hurt the businesses significantly. Can you tell us more? What's happening right now?
Right now, it's really a Wild West. I mean, the
Mm,
best way to explain AI is there's a Wild West because of several reasons. Because AI in people's consciousness is very new. Think about it. The first 2 years when the automobile came out, right? Everybody was building everything. Everybody was trying things out, tinkering and whatnot. So right now in the field of AI, it's a huge mess, if you will, right? And the technology itself is not there where we want that to be able to use it reliably in different businesses, such as commercial real estate and finance. And one thing that people need to understand is AI has different kinds of uses. And it's very important to understand that from that perspective. So I distinguish three different kinds: generative
mhm.
AI, derivative AI, and analytical AI. And understanding
Tell
the
us more.
difference of that is extremely important because the
Mhm.
use cases and the requirements are very different. So generative AI is an AI that generates something out of nothing, right?
Yep.
Write me an essay or create a video for me or draw me a picture. So that's generative AI, right? So
Yeah.
it's used for creative tasks. The second one is derivative AI, which is an AI that extracts information from something. Let's say some documents, right? Let's say a loan officer needs, a bank needs information from tax forms, right? But it needs to be precisely whatever the tax form says, right? That's derivative AI in a way, right? And then the third one is analytical AI. Analytical AI is like what you see in Netflix, right? It recommends based on your viewing behavior, recommends something, right? Weather forecast. Also, it recommends or forecasts something, sales forecasting. It's a huge, gigantic field. But understanding those three fields is extremely important because that's how different use cases of AIs you find, right? And the requirements are different. One of the biggest problems we have in AI right now is accuracy, right? Data accuracy, right? And depending on which area you are, the data accuracy requirements are very different. So if you are a graphic designer and right now trying to use AI, right? You will find AI that is not necessarily accurate, but that doesn't matter. Because if you're designing a logo, for example, or a marketing brochure using AI, so what if it's 60% accurate, right? 60% is still very useful. And you're working collaboratively with the AI model. Derivative AI is exactly the opposite. Correct. Derivative AI, on the other hand, this is the area where I am mostly in. It's exactly the opposite. Derivative AI is all about accuracy. You expect to use the derivative AI without supervision, without collaborative kind of a thing, right? Because otherwise, if I'm there anyway, then why use derivative AI? I can just do this manually or send this to cheap labor or something, right? So derivative AI is all about accuracy. And the third one, analytical AI, is something in between, right? It's already the nature, the subject itself is kind of a vague, but the accuracy requirement, you want something as accurate as possible, but you understand you're not going to get 100% accuracy. So accuracy is really the biggest thing in my view that everybody talks about AI, but nobody's really talking about accuracy requirement, which is, I believe, is the biggest limiting factor in AI at this moment.
Choon, why don't you give a specific example? Last time you gave me airplane example. Can you tell us again so that I think other people will put it in their mind regarding why the accuracy really matters for what kind of application and why it's going to destroy businesses? Using that specific example, I think it's very mind blowing. Last time when you told me.
Because simply you cannot just treat AI right now as a plug and play device, right? So if you buy the next model of the iPhone, you can just buy off the shelf, use it. AI isn't in that area, in that space, at least for the derivative and analytical applications, right? You cannot use something like this because the devices that we use, right? The places that we use, our technology today. Let's say the light switch in your bedroom, right? Or the computer on your desk or the phone that you have, right? They are all everyday devices for us. Why? Because they have a very high level of accuracy. Car that you use, right? Planes that you step in. They all have for natural reasons sometimes, because if you don't want to endanger human life, have very high level of accuracy, right? The chances of a plane crashing is 1 in 10 million. So when you step in a plane right now, the chance of you crash is 1 in 10 million. That's 99.99999%, 9 with 7 zeros or something, right? So that's why we can confidently step into a plane. The chance of you getting an accident when you drive a car right now is probably less than 0.001% or something, right? So those are acceptable risks. There's naturally no device in the world that's 100%, but all the devices that we surround ourselves in our lives, a light switch, a phone, a computer, a car, a train, a plane, they all have very high level of accuracy. We're talking 99.79 after the decimal point, right?
Yeah.
AI is not. We all know AI accuracy ranges somewhere between, I don't know, 60 to 90% sometimes, right? So can you imagine buying a phone that you spent $1,000 on and it works only, I don't know, 8 or 9 out of 10 times? It's hard to conceive, right? Would you buy a computer, $2,000 computer that only turns on, let's say 7 out of 10 times? Unacceptable, right? You would instantly give it back and say, this is not ready. This product is not ready for prime time, kind of a thing, right? And AI, you cannot treat AI as a result, like a plug and play device, like your next iPhone, like your next computer that you're buying, right? So in that regard, that's why AI is not ready. And if you use AI in your business that way, right, a device that's not ready, well, you're gonna definitely destroy a company that way, right? So that's not a good way to use AI for, right?
Yeah, this is Especially true for B2B businesses. And actually, you had really good analogy last time we talked. It's called tingling, right? So people are tingling about AI. They're excited about AI. But when you really put it into production level readiness, they're too far away. And last time when we talked, such as the banking industry, because it requires really high reliability, how much money you send me, how much money I have in my bank account. I
Correct.
hope it's not 90% accuracy. June
Correct.
send me $100 or 10% of the time he send me $1 million. I'll be very happy. So all those, or with the
Yeah, of
airplane,
course. Yeah.
tingling as you talk about earlier, people tingling about, wow, this is so exciting. Wow, if you get on airplanes and have 90% accuracy or safety, what would you do? Is that I would never get on any airplane anymore, and all those like Delta Airlines going out of business tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And that is exactly the reason why smart businesses these days are careful in applying AI into the workflow. They can use it in peripheral cases, creating a, say, marketing brochure, right? So every company these days, especially Fortune 500 companies, they all, and as every small business, tinkers with AI. So we call them
Hmm.
tinkerers. In fact, I belong to one of those groups. They call them AI tinkerers. They tinker really with AI problems, and AI, they code and they show the code, and they try to use AI in their life in to solve everyday problems, and that's perfectly fine, and that's very, very important that we do this tinkering
Hmm.
with technologies. But there is a world between tinkering and having an actual business application that you can use in, let's say, a Fortune 500 company, right?
Yes.
Before you can use something that you've tinkered and apply it into a business, real business setting, Fortune 500 settings that serves like Delta Airline you just mentioned, right? Kind of a thing, right? That kind of environment. Oh, there's a world between that, right? In terms of accuracy requirement. If you're tinkering, okay, if it fails eight, if it fails 2 out of 10 times, not a problem. That's why we call it tinkerers, right? But if you apply
Hmm.
it to sell it or apply it or deploy it to a Fortune 500 company, a solution, oh yeah, it better be 99.99 something percentage accurate or something, or at least very, very high. Otherwise, those companies, those businesses are not going to deploy it, and that's why what AI is right now struggling with to find those applications where there's the error requirements are not as high as 99%, that's a customer
Hmm.
support, right? Or in places where the AI can become more accurate. But there is right now a limit to that, how accurate an AI can become. Let's say we all know AI hallucinates, right?
Yes.
So because of hallucinations, an AI model by default cannot become 99.99%. Right. So then
Hmm.
what can you do about that? And there are many studies about that, many technologies that we're trying to do. My view, we are not doing enough. There needs to be a whole lot more research, a whole lot more companies into that space. Everybody's
Hmm.
right now like moth into light, just going into what's exciting, what looks exciting, which is, the graphics, the videos and whatnot. And that's fine. But again, there's far too little done at this moment in the AI space about researching hallucination. What can we do? What the transformation, what breakthrough ideas can we do and deploy and build and invent in order to address the biggest problem right now in AI that almost nobody's talking about, which is hallucinations. How can we
Yes.
address that?
Exactly. So let's dive deeper into hallucination right now. I think one of the biggest problem is that you don't know when to hallucinate. Based on my heavy usage of AI, and I have a story actually. Before I went on maternity leave with my second kid, I have 8 full-time employees. Now I have 5 full-time employees, and actually speaking today, I was recording. I actually have full-time employees now, and
Mm-hmm.
all these people are getting replaced by AI. The last one, she just left the company a week ago, now replacing her using our AI chatbot developed within our internal company. As it is changing the industry, reducing the workforce. I'm sorry, it's true. AI replacing jobs. If you're small business owners or even large business owner, you agree with what I say. But we might hire more AI engineers as we go through the AI era right now. However, as I am a heavy user and heavy developers of AI product, I realize that when AI hallucinate, even myself, I don't know when it hallucinate. I
Right.
think this caused the biggest problem. What do you think?
Yeah, the biggest problem in hallucination is that you don't know when it hallucinates, right? When it
Hmm.
misspells a word that you know of, right? Then okay, then you know the answer already, right? But most problems that we're dealing with, you don't know what's the right answer. In fact, that's the reason why you're using an AI model, right? So
Yeah.
hallucination is definitely the biggest problem right now, and not knowing when it hallucinates, the timing
Hmm.
of it, right? And then how can you then prevent that in the future to happen, kind of a thing. And in my view, you cannot, with the current AI models that you have, the LLMs, you can't really fix that. It is
Tell us more.
baked
Why? Why the
because
current LLM
AI,
couldn't
because an
fix it right now?
LLM by default is a probabilistic mathematical model, right?
Hmm.
It recognizes patterns. It recognizes based on patterns, based on the data it's fed. It's recognizing patterns and basically guesses, makes a really good guess of what the right answer is. So, for
Yeah.
example, there, in our human language, we have patterns all the time. When I say "Happy birthday to," most people say it's you, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what's most frequently that phrase "Happy birthday to" is used for, right? So that is a pattern that we have in our human language. But what if I told you it's happy birthday to Nancy, not to you, right? In that
Hmm.
instant, it just hallucinated, right? In a way, right? So because our current LLM models is probabilistic kind of a thing, that's
Hmm.
why probability by definition means it's not 100%, right? By
True.
definition, right? If it's 100%, it's not probability anymore. It's certainty, right? Not probability, right?
Hmm.
And our models, our LLM models, all our AI models are based on probabilities. And they will get better, no question. They have gotten better and they will get better, but there will always be a certain threshold that we cannot cross. And based on the data, based on the specialization, for that reason, AI will always hallucinate, at least with the current technology. And that's what
Hmm.
I've been proposing, that we need to do whole my research into transformational thinking in how can we do, what can we do in order to overcome that, to fix that, to mitigate that at least, kind of thing. And that's one
Hmm.
of the areas that I'm working on. That so my field of specialty in AI is hallucination. How we can do this and how to address that kind of a thing. You know.
Very cool. So, June, let's give the audience a general overview regarding today's technology. We all know they hallucinate and different ways to reduce hallucinations, such as RAG, which is a more typical process and giving high quality data. Can you give audience an overview regarding the effort we're putting right now? Even if it's not perfect, what people be doing right now, how good it is right now, so that we know the best state of art hallucination prevention technology right now.
Yeah, there are technologies available like RAG, as I mentioned. Another
Mm,
element is data purity, right? That's another
mm,
way to reduce hallucinations so it doesn't use wrong data to be trained on, right? RAG is also good, but it's more like a band-aid, I think, in my view. Because it can only address certain types of hallucination, right? So the randomness, the probability of the answers is still there because that's how the LLM models are built. And that, they're still very powerful. The LLMs are still very, very powerful. It's good. And there are certain application can be used for that, right? As I said, for creative tasks, right? Even if it's wrong, we instantly see that what's wrong. We instantly know, we can still find it useful, even if it's 60% accurate or 60% of what we want. However, there are certain tasks, especially the derivative tasks, right? Used in a bank, used in commercial real estate, used in healthcare, right? imagine, you build an AI model one day that dispenses medication and has, let's say, incredible accuracy. One out of a billion is wrong, right? But that 1 billion, 1 out of 1 billion case, the patient is dead, right? So that kind of a
you get
situation,
sued.
right? So, so there are certain applications where accuracy is paramount. So in those applications, we have to be much more careful in applying that. So if you're a healthcare company and you're trying to use AI for something that's life critical, yeah, that will definitely destroy a business if you try to do that because liability and what other issues there is. And those it's a whole different kind of worms we will be opening about liability and that kind of sort. But uh, addressing hallucination is a very poorly understood field at this moment. And there are
Hmm.
very, very few people who even understand this, and even fewer people who do something about it.
True.
To push the frontiers. We rather spend right now $200 billion or 200 whatever $250 billion into building data centers. Which is important. I'm not saying that's not important. It's very important that we build a data structure, but the data centers. But I wish a fraction of that is spent on hallucination research. Which is
Hmm.
the limiting factor right now in how to use AI in many fields aside from creative ones. And sure, creative ones is a big sector of the U.S. economy or the world economy, but the by far the largest sector is the everyday tasks, the banks, the commercial real estate companies, the pharmaceutical companies, the everyday
Phone
companies,
companies
the
like
the phone
Walmart
companies.
purchasing
Exactly.
basic stuff.
Those are the majority of the industries that were really trying to use AI, and a vast majority use derivative AI on that. And that's where AI, data accuracy matters more than anything.
Yeah, and actually, I have a student. She had 3 AIPM job offer, but she eventually decided to join a life science company, which is also
Hmm.
using ML model, not the Gen AI, which is
Sure.
building ML model for life sciences in the healthcare space. And so that's also the type of AI ML field most people do not talk about in general. A lot of people do Gen AI. I think it's very hard right now, and also most hiring is in the Gen AI space. But we also believe that, and actually, the backbone of the traditional ML product management or ML engineer, which equals today is the AI engineer, if you merge all the title AI ML product managers out there, and that's the field, and people need to step in and knowing the fundamentals and also the limitations of AI right now.
Yeah, 100% correct. 100% correct. There's so many developments going on, but as I mentioned, most of them, I would say probably 99% is tinkering. And that's very important that we need to tinker. We need to tinker more, even actually, I would say. But
Mm-hmm.
again, there's a difference between tinkering and then actually building a business application that can be used in the mainstream USA, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And that will take some time.
What do you think about the latest trends regarding people say, "Hey, I want to become super IC. I use no-code tools to build something within 2 weeks." Do you think they're also doing tinkering or just following the trend blindly? I really think today's podcast is very controversial. By the way, feel free to tell us what your true thought about people just building something using no-code tools within 2 weeks, but never really put into productions. What do you think? Do you think it's just like your definition of tinkering, or they are actually making some true use cases out of it?
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? I mean, it's actually not that difficult to follow, right? I mean, th- everybody these days tinkers with AI. They try it out,
Mhm.
right? And I served Fortune 500 companies most of my 30-year career, right?
Mhm.
And if you before you can deploy something, before you can go to a Fortune 500 company and say, "Hey, I have this great product, I want to deploy it," right? It needs to have a certain performance threshold, right? The performance threshold is very high. We're talking 99 point something percent, right? Or 98% or something very high, right? But
Mhm.
if somebody, a kid these days, or somebody, tinkers with AI these days and builds something and does really well, he may say, "Oh, guys, I used to do this manually for 3 hours, and now all of a sudden I can do this in 10 seconds because I've built this AI agent that does it for you," kind of thing, right? Which is true, and which is great. And the kid or whoever is doing this needs to continue doing that. But guess what? That AI model that model it built will hallucinate sooner or later, right? Because he's using naturally one of the common available AI model, unless the kid has built one from scratch, which is going to take definitely longer than 2 weeks, kind of a thing, right?
Mhm.
And even then, I don't know exactly how to do this or how most people would do this. So most AI models these days, the chat GPTs and the Anthropics and the Claudes and the Metas, the Llamas, they're all based on LLMs. LLMs hallucinate. In other words, whatever AI agent or AI application you built, right, it's going to hallucinate. And if it hallucinates, your data accuracy is not going to be 99% or whatever. It's going to be more like in the range of anywhere from 60 to 90 something percent, right? So that means you have to go there with a tool, with a device, with an application that you built that worked well when you try that out in your living room. But when you try to deploy it, can you guarantee that your application, that's the question that the Fortune 500 companies will ask, can you guarantee that your product that you just built will perform at 99%? And naturally, nobody at this moment can say it will perform 99%.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why in
Right.
the hiring field of AI product managers, if you read the job description, nobody asks saying that we are hiring AI product manager who use no code tool to build AI agent within 2 hours. Nobody say it on the resume. Everybody
Yeah.
said we want people with at least 3 years experience building real life AI product, put into productions with real users. On top of that, we also want someone who is able to deal with data drifting, concept shift, and all of this happens after end users start using your product. I think a lot of people in the field right now are just getting into AI hype, which was one of those. And I built I tried my very first AI model last year, a year ago, and you only use in 3 hours, using all those different kind of free tools and do something. I was like, wow, the AI is so powerful. And then people start using it, you say, oh, they like concepts that shift. And that's why all the employers today, they're not just looking for people to play with AI for 3 hours, build your AI agent during the weekend. Well, that's a good thing to put um, something to demonstrate your interest. But what they are looking for, if you read any job description, is about having experience building and developing and managing AI product end to end, not just building it using 3 hours and AI agent free tools. It's about after people using it, the data set drift, and you can see hallucination, how you deal with hallucination. When do you discover this? What the specific metric would you use and to deal with very challenging situation? All those kind of things a lot of people have missed. As I said, this podcast is very controversial. That's why I want people to start using the important knowledge you guys take and think about what really takes for you to create amazing AI product, become a great AI product managers out there.
Yeah, I can only agree with what you're saying. It and resonate and amplify what you're saying. Again, people should continue tinkering with AI, trying it out, building whatever your heart desires with AI. Try to streamline it, try to make it better using AI. It's all about efficiency in the end, right? That AI is
Mhm.
trying to do. Also about creativity, and again, depending on what area you're applying AI for, right? If you're building an AI tool that's creative in nature, right? Build a
Yeah.
report, write a report, right? Do an image or video, something creative. Then you have a little bit more leverage about accuracy, right? Because people are going to be leaning more towards using AI, even though the accuracy is not there, right? And that's what a vast majority of AI applications are used these ways and built for, are these creative tasks. But if you're trying to use AI in more data-centric area, right, where
Mhm.
extracting data or analyzing data, you have to be far more careful. You have to be far more careful, and deploying and building a solution in that area is also much more difficult because the threshold of accuracy for data in that space, in that data-centric space, is much higher than creative tasks. So first of all, think of it when you are somebody who is trying to tinker with AI or build AI something. Think of it first. What type of application is my application? Is this creative nature, the derivative, or is it analytical in nature? And depending on what that is, you have to be careful in what you're applying the AI for, right? And tinkering. So say if you're tinkering with that, and if you're doing creative, yeah, you can build something that's fairly okay, and perhaps push it one day into mainstream of the software world, right? In the application world.
Yeah.
But in terms of derivative and analytical, much harder, much harder, because there will be accuracy requirements on that, and people will say, well, you just built me something. I am Fortune 500 company, and then they will say, oh, well, you built me something. How do I know that whatever you're delivering will be at least 98% accurate? And you cannot give that guarantee at this moment. It's very difficult to give that type of guarantee when you're building AI with the kind of with the typical LLM models. So
Yeah.
that's why I see there's a difference between them. Of the different applications there are.
Mhm.
And understanding the difference is very important, I feel.
Exactly. That's also the motivation for us to create the AI PM bootcamp inside of our PM Accelerator company. And our company, we create the AI PM bootcamp, teaching people create an AI product, and you build it with a real team and continue to make it as an end-to-end product and launch a product with real users. And some of them literally take it to go to Y Combinator right now, and trying to receive seed funding, continue to grow their AI career. So I personally believe that's the only way if we really create the impact for AI product, by really building everything end to end with a real team instead of just playing with something. Of course, that's the beginning. So therefore, I recommend everyone to check out our AI PM bootcamp, but go to pmaccelerator.io/ AIPM, pmaccelerator.io/AIPM. Also, link it in the description of the show note for you to learn more as well. And June, let me also ask you the few final thoughts. What kind of advice would you give to today's business owners or anybody who use AI today in like maybe one or two important takeaways they need to take actions right away after today's very controversial podcast?
Yeah, there are several pointers I can give them on their journey. I think first of all, keep exploring AI. We need more people like you who are trying out, tinkering, programming, whatever you want to call it, experimenting with AI. Keep experimenting, keep learning it. One thing that you should not do, I don't care what you do, but I don't care, but what you should not do is ignore AI. You cannot ignore AI. You cannot say it's just a fad. AI is not a fad. It will fundamentally change our life in the next couple of years and decades to come. Bear in mind, we are still very, very early on in the AI age. Although it has been around for a while, it is still actually very new in a way at the same time, right? So it has been around for a long time, but also very new at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is before you go further, think about the application. What does your AI do? Is it generative in nature, derivative in nature, or analytical in nature, right? What does it exactly do? And based on that, you need to adjust the expectation, the data accuracy expectation. If you're building something generative, okay, data accuracy is not so important, but it's more important the usability of it, right? The usability of the AI application. Say you're building an AI model that can create logo designs more easily, whatever, right? Then you can think of more cases of how can I use this? How is the use a product more useful for the customer, for the user, right? If it's derivative, all your focus needs to be on data accuracy. Data accuracy is prime, right? And if it's analytical, then you have to think about, okay, the data purity of it, right? What's the data purity of what kind of data are you using to train your model, kind of thing, right? So that's step number 2. Step number 3 is also thinking about, and this is the part that most people forget who are tinkering with AI. AI, in the end, is still software, right? That's what
True.
most people forget, right? You can build your amazing AI application, but it needs to be usable, right? And I've been a software developer and builder for 30 years. This is some of the biggest thing that I observe these days. They built an AI model of doing a video editing something. It's amazing. It creates automatic video clips or whatever, but it's not usable. Right? Usable means that you need to go through the whole process of building a software. Software is built in a certain way, right? Designed, right? UX, UI. Then you have to build the product. You have to test the product. You have to go through the whole entire life cycle of a software. So you cannot skip steps there. Just because it's an AI, you have to build that your AI application. With that in mind, right? That it is in the end is still software. And maybe one last thing I want to show, leave your audience thoughts on is there's a difference between AI application, AI agent, and agentic AI, right? So there are different kinds here to have that in mind, right? Also, different type of AI, but different purposes, right? AI application solves a specific problem. Agentic AI is much more in terms of acting autonomously, doing a task. And agentic AI is much more, even more autonomous, and being able to control different agents, if you will, kind of a thing, right? So the different applications. So you have to think about that aspect too. So is your tool an AI application, or is it an AI agent, or is it an agentic AI application, right? So have that in mind as well, right? So that's another pointer I can give them on their journey on this as well. And maybe one last thought here is many people right now are using AI, but they're using also in a way wrappers, right? So I think we need more people who can actually build AI models like I have. I know it takes a while. It took me many years to build my first AI model. But wrappers is basically you just give a user interface and use ChatGPT in the background, right? So that's a wrapper kind of a thing, right? So wrappers are less useful because a lot of other people are gonna do that, be able to do that, right? So I would encourage, especially young kids these days, go there, study how to build LLMs, study how you can build the next AI model or something, right? And that's really what I can give them on their journey on getting more familiar with AI.
This is so fundamental and so true. Maybe someone can create a new way to build models then your company will worth more than OpenAI today. This is so exciting. And thank you for joining the Choon. And I always love our guests. Two final questions. And today we talk a lot about growth of AI, impact of AI, business growth, business impact as well. Let's talk about personal growth as well. I'm a big believer of growth mindset, and which I believe this life is a school. People continue learning and growing together. So can you share with us how do you grow yourself and what you believe in growth mindset? What kind of resources do you recommend everyone to grow the personally or professionally?
You'll laugh at my answer. The way I grow actually and train for business is actually through sports. I'm a very passionate tennis player, uh,
Wow.
and
Yes, where I saw you play advanced level. No, yes, now makes sense. That's how we met. Yeah, keep going. Yes.
yeah, so for me, sports teaches me a lot about how to grow personally, professionally, also,
Mm,
in life itself. So it's ten. The sport that I play, tennis, is it's a teacher for me. It's humbling. Tennis. You'll never master tennis. There's not one moment in life where I will able to tell, oh, Nancy, I've mastered tennis. That doesn't exist. The best players in the world will have 3 or 5 days in a year where they play at the top, literally, right?
wow.
That's how hard tennis is. And for me, life itself is a reflection of life itself. Famous Grand Slam winner Chris Evert once said, "Life is like tennis, and tennis is like life." And when I heard this many years ago, I didn't understand what she meant. Now I do. She was basically saying the way you play tennis, it's reflected in life, and vice versa, kind of a thing, right? And the way how you learn tennis, you can change the course of your life because you will learn certain things through that sport that something else would not be able to teach you, kind of a thing. And I've grown tremendously through that. And I don't know, I don't care what sport you do, but sport is a great teacher in that personal growth space and that to develop the growth mindset that you've been talking about.
This is so deep. We're going to film a second episode about how to grow through sports. I
Yeah.
play tennis too. Very entry level. Very entry level. And I do ballroom dancing and my lifelong sports as well. Wow. We definitely do second episode, but do you mind give us maybe like 30 seconds? What lesson did you learn through tennis that reflect in life?
Yeah. So
30 seconds. One specific example. I learned this through tennis. This is the same as life. It's just a learning opportunity for everybody. This is so exciting.
yeah, because what tennis teaches you is like you have to separate what's going on in your brain with what you're actually doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Match point or set point or something, right?
Yeah.
If you're at the point panicking, let's say, right, or if you get too excited about it, I can guarantee you will choke and you will miss the point, right? So you have
Mm.
to rely on your training. You have to separate what your brain is telling you, the voices that you're telling in your brain from what you're doing, right? You have to rely on your training. You have to we in tennis call this effortless effort. You have to make an effort without really trying it, kind of a thing, right? you know and
Wow.
and and tennis teaches you that more than any other sport that I know, because the moment you try too hard, the ball's going to go long or goes on net, right? The
Yeah.
moment you don't care, then you lose the point, right? So you have to just find that middle ground somehow. And business, for me, it's success. The key to success in business is something in that space as well. You cannot try too hard to sell something because then you turn off the customer. But at the same time, you have to do something, right? So it's the same thing for me. That's what I learned from tennis.
Mm.
Is to, to to really learn the lessons from tennis, apply in your business and your personal growth as well.
This is so exciting. This episode is the one I had most learning from the guest. That's so out of my original prediction where this podcast need to go. This is awesome. Everyone, if you like anything we shared today, make sure to comment below or your interpretation regarding learning from sports. I love to hear from you guys as well. And June, how other people is able to follow you and ask you questions moving forward?
Yeah, there's several ways. I'm most frequently on LinkedIn. In fact, I write like 1 to 3 articles each week about AI. It's linkedin.com/in/. Choon Lee, CHOONHYONGLEE. So you can link up with me, connect with me there. You can follow me there as well. You can also email me directly, Choon, CHOON.LEE at abstractcompany.com, ABSTRA company.com. So those are the part of the best ways to reach me, get hold of me, and I'm very good with correspondence usually, so I'm more than happy to
Awesome.
answer any question you have.
Yeah, we're gonna link it in the description of the show notes as well. And anybody who wanna do a match with Stroom, feel free to email him as well. Make sure to CC me because I like to learn from the process and very entry level, but like be part of the game as well. Awesome, great, cool. So everybody, if you find today's podcast very insightful and help you to rethink about AI and help you build even better AI product, make sure to like and comment, subscribe to this podcast, and watch us on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and Red, and all your favorite channel, as well as write us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And we really appreciate it. So these will be our motivation to bring all the amazing guests to grow together as well. This is Dr. Nancy Lee from PMAccelerator.io. I'm going to see you in our next episode right here. And thank you for joining us, Choon.
Thank you so much.
Great.